Really, what does God need with a spaceship? Hey everybody, welcome to After Action Report, your recap show for all Showdown matches to keep you caught up on all the action. I'm your host Megs here for the Call to Action podcast channel, breaking down all the stats and all the storylines from Friday Night Titans episode 15. Now, if you caught the reference in my opening line, as well as the title for this episode, you will know that Star Trek got a lot of love during both matches in this event, and I will get to those later. But to quick recap, we got a formation of a new team with a very familiar face, and we finally saw the second match in singles, but the fifth time that Ben Bateman and Mike Kalinowski have squared it off in the Schmodown Arena, and oh my goodness, was it one to watch. So without further ado, let's jump right into the episode. In our first scene, Jen Sturger gets called to the front desk to receive a delivery of flowers from an unknown person. So automatically starting off in this episode with a little bit of mystery and intrigue. Now, we do not figure out who it is during this episode, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments on who you think sent these flowers to Jen. Next, we see Riley finds Jacoby, who has been trying to get a hold of Riley, who keeps missing his calls. Jacoby wants a match. They go and find Winston, Amaru, and Clee Wiggins. Riley proposes a teams match for Jacoby against Clee and Amaru. Winston agrees, and Riley reveals he will be Jacoby's partner. So Jacoby is still playing up this excited young buck wanting to prove himself, and Riley being as his mentor is not necessarily encouraging anything, but is being helpful because he even agrees to step back into the ring for a match. We learned that Winston will actually not be there for the match, but he promises Clee and Amaru that he will have a competent manager, which I will talk about who that person is a little bit later. And with this, we jump right into our first match of the night, which is the team of the Dojo, Jacoby Bancroft and Mark Riley, against the Culture, Amaru Moses and Clee Wiggins. Coming out of round one, the Dojo is up by 8, 20-12, with Riley going perfect plus the bonus, Jacoby coming away with 9 points, Amaru with 8, and Clee with 4. Now, we do find out that the manager for the Culture is none other than Winston's crazy uncle, who proceeds to give Amaru multiple head slaps in this round, as well as proceeds to yell at just about everyone throughout the match. That's a lot of fun to watch, but let's just keep moving through the match. In round 2, the Dojo defers to have the Culture spin first, who take the Wayans family on their first spin, and they sweep the round for the full 10 points. The Dojo, on their spin away from the wild card and end up taking Star Trek. Told you the Star Trek was getting a lot of love. They end up coming away with 8 out of 10 points. Check down to multiple choice once, missed that question, and it is stolen for 1 point by the Culture. This means that the Culture gains 3 points, but the Dojo is still up by 5, 28-23 going into the final round. Amaru hits a 2-pointer new releases. Clee hits her 3-pointer in sports, which now ties the game back up at 28, and Riley answers a 2-pointer in Sly and Arnie for the Dojo, forcing the Culture to have to answer a 5-pointer in Family Films, which they miss, and this gives the Dojo the win with a final score of 30-28, where the Dojo answered 25 of 27 questions for 93% accuracy and scored 88% of 34 available points. The Culture answered 20 of 29 questions for 69% accuracy and scored 65% of 43 available points. It was great to see Riley back in the ring. He had some struggles last season in both singles and teams, but seems to not be having those problems right now because he was the only person in round 1 to get a perfect round. Jacoby and Amaru both also having strong showings, and while this is her first time in teams, we have seen Clee Wiggins be a little up and down with her round 1. She came away with 4 points in this match, but across her 4 singles matches, she has come away with an average of 6 points. But Winston coming in as his crazy uncle brought a lot of fun to this match, and I definitely hope that we see this character more in the future. This takes us to the middle point of the event, and after the break, we get one quick scene before we jump into our main event match, where we see Ben talking to Shannon, saying that the offer is still open for Shannon to join up with Ben on the Den. Shannon is having none of it and leaves the boss alone on the couch. So I'm loving this attitude coming from Shannon, absolutely taking none of the shenanigans that Ben Bateman's trying to throw out, and the boss has been laying it on heavy this season to be sure. This scene takes us into the main event of the night, the number one contender qualifying match. Winner of this gets to face off against Marisol McKee in a number one contender match for a shot at a title. It is Ben the Boss Bateman against Mike the Killer Kalinowski. Coming out of round one, Ben is up by 8-7. Coming into round two, Ben defers to have Mike spin first, who takes the wild card on the first spin, and it ends up being Spinner's choice, and Mike takes, you guessed it, Star Trek. Mike comes away with 8 out of 10 points, checks down to multiple choice once, and misses that question, but it is not stolen. Now, I do have to agree a little bit with the boss here. It was a bit of irony that a dominant IG player like Kalinowski misses a Star Trek question in singles, but it can happen, and it did, but joke was a little bit on Bateman because he wasn't even able to get the steal opportunity. Ben decides to take David Fincher on his first spin and sweeps the round for the full 10 points. This now gives Ben a gain of 2 to now be up by 3, 18-15 going into the final round. Mike hits his 2-pointer in sports and the 3-pointer in directors. This sends it back to Ben to hit a 2-pointer in George Clooney and Brad Pitt, as well as a 3-pointer in Tom Cruise. It's back over to Mike for a 5-pointer in scores and soundtracks, and Ben is forced to hit a 5-pointer in the Scots, which he does, and this gives Ben a win with a final score of 28-25, where Ben Bateman answered 16 of 19 questions for 84% accuracy and scored 88% of 32 available points. Mike Kalinowski answered 14 of 18 questions for 78% accuracy and scored 81% of 31 available points. Now, this was quite a match to watch. Now, not only were there some impressive numbers put up by both competitors, it was just crazy chaos to watch. I was positive, and I was actually shocked that I never heard an official warning issued by either Mark Ellis or Ken Knapsack. Now, you guys can be sure to comment if you heard an official warning being issued. Give me the timestamp on the episode. I would love to be able to hear it. The times that I've listened to the episode, I heard a lot of warnings that he would get a warning, specifically the boss, who was throwing out most of the insults and most of the shenanigans were coming from his side. But absolutely, he and Mike were both throwing jabs at each other the entire match. But we do see that officially Ben Bateman is best 3 out of 5 currently against Mike Kalinowski combined with singles and teams. Now, Mike may try and pull that he needs a rubber match against him in singles, but in the immediate, we do have a pending match coming between Marisol McKee, Mike's faction mate, and Ben the Boss Bateman. This will be a number one contender match, and we do get a little preview of what we may be seeing there because, true to his usual form, Bateman crashes Mike's interview after the match, and Marisol apparently has heard enough and lays into him and actually sends Ben Bateman out of the room. I don't know about you, but I am definitely looking forward to what that match is going to look like because there is definitely some heat building up in Lady Justice, who is going to be well prepared and well ready to try and take down the boss. Before we sign off, Bateman approaches Christian about setting up the number one contender match for Danger Zone. Per the stipulations set up, Christian offers for Danger Zone to face off against King Arthur. And Bateman assures him that he agrees, and he also is speaking for Dan Murrell. So true to his mantra of always having a plan, the boss has successfully moved himself and Dan into a position to where now Danger Zone will be set up to have a number one contender match against King Arthur. We don't know yet when that match will be airing, but I want to hear your thoughts on who you think would win in that matchup. Now, based on what we saw last time from Danger Zone, it seems that they are in their peak stride, coming away with a TKO in their very first match in this season. But we don't know what King Arthur has been doing in the offseason, so we're just going to have to wait and see what that match has in store. And that is going to do it for this week's episode. But don't worry, I'll be right back next week breaking down all the stats and storylines from our next Friday Night Titans. Before you leave, be sure you hit like on this video, you are subscribed to the channel, and you are leaving comments. All the match breakdowns I present here will be posted to Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, for the entire Call to Action podcast crew, I'm your host, Megs. This is After Action Report signing off, and a reminder, live long and prosper.